A draft decision between a future MVP and a hopeful could have shifted the balance of NFL power, while a Super Bowl guarantee fueled a legacy that could have crumbled with a single loss. These are the biggest what-ifs in the NFL history. 1. What if the tuck rule didn't exist? Remember that time when Tom Brady fumbled, but actually didn't fumble against the Oakland Raiders in the playoffs? Everybody knew it was a fumble, but this tuck rule ended up being history-changing for the New England Patriots. After the ruling ended up being an incomplete forward pass, New England went on to kick a game-winning field goal and ultimately win the Super Bowl that year. But what if the tuck rule didn't exist, and the ruling was a fumble recovered by the defense? The Raiders were a talented team that year, and this was the first of what ended up being many Super Bowls that the Patriots went on to win. So what if Oakland won instead? One thing that is eliminated is the start of the Patriots dynasty, as it has been concluded that this tuck rule game helped kick off what turned out to be the greatest dynasty in NFL history. However, this ended up being a legacy game for Tom Brady. So take away this game. Does Tom Brady even become the greatest of all time? The Raiders probably end up winning a Super Bowl due to this, and John Gruden probably isn't traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This also eliminates Tampa Bay's Super Bowl win over the Oakland Raiders in 2002. There is the possibility that instead we see an Oakland Raiders dynasty, but thinking about how this game is important to NFL history goes to show even the smallest things can be the most important aspect of history. 2. What if Scott Norwood made the kick? Super Bowl 25 between the Giants and Bills came down to a last-second field goal in which Bills kicker, Scott Norwood, famously missed it wide right. This missed field goal was the first of 4 straight Bills Super Bowl losses, and Buffalo still hasn't gotten over the hump. But if Norwood had made the kick, a young Bill Belichick was the Giants' defensive coordinator, and he would have stayed with the team to try to win the Super Bowl. If Belichick hadn't left for Cleveland, Patriots owner Robert Kraft would not have considered him for a head coaching job, meaning no Patriots dynasty. But more importantly, the Bills Mafia would have a Lombardi trophy, a tangible reward for their decades of loyal fandom. 3. What if the Bears drafted Patrick Mahomes? In the 2017 draft, 3 quarterbacks were capable of being drafted in the first round: Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, and Mitchell Trubisky. Mahomes and Watson were both game-changing franchise quarterbacks, but the Bears drafted Mitchell Trubisky. The Bears had a top-tier defense during the late 2010s, but Trubisky's lack of arm strength and pocket poise have been why Chicago can't get over the hump. While the Bears would, in theory, contend for a Super Bowl if they drafted Patrick Mahomes, we don't know how well Mahomes would have fit into Matt Nagy's offensive system. 4. What if Joe Namath lost his guarantee? A drunk Joe Namath didn't know it at the time, but guaranteeing a Super Bowl victory cemented his football legacy. Though the 15-point favored Colts could have won Super Bowl III if they had played like they should have, or with a few lucky bounces. Whatever the case, Namath would have looked like a fool. But more importantly, the AFL was viewed as the little brother to the NFL at the time and wouldn't have proved itself if the Jets lost. And after losing the first 3 Super Bowls, the AFL would have folded instead of merging with the NFL. Without the merger, the NFL would be a considerably different league, with many of its greatest dynasties, such as the Steelers, Broncos, and Patriots, never occurring. 5. What if Eli Manning stuck with the Chargers? In the 2004 NFL Draft, quarterback Eli Manning was selected by the Chargers, but Manning refused to play for San Diego and held out long enough to get an offer from the Giants. Eli Manning went on to win 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, but what would have happened if he decided to play for the Chargers? While he would be handing the ball off to a Hall of Fame running back, LaDainian Tomlinson, the Chargers have notoriously bad ownership and management. If Philip Rivers couldn't make it past the divisional round, it's unlikely Eli Manning would bring San Diego a Lombardi trophy. And as for the Giants, they likely would have drafted Philip Rivers, but we simply don't know if Rivers would have been clutch for the Giants like Manning was. Maybe the 07 Patriots would have become the first 19-0 team if Eli Manning and the Giants hadn't beaten them in the Super Bowl. 6. What if the Seahawks ran the ball? One of the most criticized decisions ever. The Seahawks were driving for a game-winning touchdown late in Super Bowl 49. With seconds left on the clock, the Hawks found themselves on the 1-yard line. Instead of giving the ball to beast mode, Marshawn Lynch, who would be almost impossible to hold, being the locomotive he was, the Seahawks put the ball in the hands of a young Russell Wilson. Cornerback Malcolm Butler jumped the slant pattern and put himself in Super Bowl lure, intercepting the pass. A lot of people around the Seahawks say this exact moment created a huge rift between the players and the coaches. Richard Sherman would soon leave, Lynch fizzled out with the Hawks, and every member of the Legion of Boom soon departed. The Seahawks have yet to make another Super Bowl appearance, regularly losing in the NFL playoffs. But what if they had gave the ball to Marshawn on and ran it in for the repeat Super Bowl victory. Firstly, the legacy of all their stars and coach Pete Carroll would be even further solidified, and the Seahawks core could have stayed intact without dissension in the locker room. They could have challenged for a three-peat and a chance in an illustrious dynasty. That pass pretty much passed the team of the 2010s over to the Patriots. 7. What if Jerry Jones never fired Jimmy Johnson? After 33 seasons, Jerry Jones moved on from Tom Landry immediately after buying the Dallas Cowboys, hiring young head coach Jimmy Johnson. This turned out to be a great move as Johnson led the Cowboys to 2 straight Super Bowl wins just 4 years later. Unfortunately, the two alpha dogs couldn't coincide. The dissension between Johnson and Jones led to Jones firing their Super Bowl winning head coach at the top of their mountain. No team has ever won 3 straight Super Bowls, and Johnson leaving was way too much for a very tight-knit group to recoup for the three-peat. While they won a title the following year without Jimmy Johnson, many Cowboy fans feel this bad karma has set a black cloud over America's team ever since. What if the two reconciled and Johnson remained the head coach? The chance of a three-peat was very real. The core of the Cowboys roster loved Johnson. Most described him as a father figure. To this day, that cohesiveness is likely the difference between a playoff team and a championship team. Since the final Super Bowl win, the Cowboys have only won 4 playoff victories in over 2 decades, and Cowboy fans are left wondering, what if? 8. What if Drew Bledsoe never got hurt? The most storybook, Hollywood scripted season of all time starts with Patriots starting quarterback Drew Bledsoe being injured in the second week of the 2001 NFL season. The rest is well-documented history. Unknown, underdog, 6th-round pick Tom Brady steps in and leads the Patriots to a Super Bowl championship. This began the career of the GOAT. 6 championships later, what if Drew Bledsoe wasn't sidelined with an injury? Well, the entire Belichick-Brady era may have never begun. Belichick was on his second stint as a head coach after the Cleveland Browns disbanded. His first year with the Patriots was underwhelming, and he was being labeled as a better coordinator than head coach by the media. Another losing season with Bledsoe at the helm, who had taken the pass to the Super Bowl earlier in his career, might have been the nail in the coffin for Belichick. It's certainly a possibility that the NFL, as we know it, might be completely different if Bledsoe didn't take that jarring hit from New York Jets linebacker Mo Lewis. Looking back on it now, I bet Jets fans and so many others wish Brady never even got the chance to become the greatest of all time. 9. What if the 49ers drafted Aaron Rodgers? Only a year after Eli Manning refused to play for the Chargers, the 49ers made a pivotal decision in the 2005 draft. San Francisco held the first overall pick and passed on Aaron Rodgers to pick the other first-round quarterback, Alex Smith. Rodgers fell to the late first round, where he was drafted by the Packers. Rodgers won Green Bay a Super Bowl and proved to be a generational talent, while Alex Smith was a solid quarterback, but not a game-changer. If the 49ers drafted Aaron Rodgers, they likely would have gone to at least 1 Super Bowl, with a wide-open NFC and an elite defense. But if Green Bay missed out on the generational QB, the Bears or Vikings could have become kings of the North and gone on deep playoff runs with their high-quality defenses and without Aaron Rodgers.